Hey guys, back again with another video, vlog impressions type video. I don't know what I'm going to call this, but I decided I'm going to talk about the Game Awards and the PlayStation Experience Conference. I'm not going to go really in depth. I'm just going to basically talk about, I'm not going to cover everything, but basically give my impressions on the two events and what I thought of them and some of the announcements that happened. Well, we'll get started with the Game Awards. I always get sucked into watching these things. They're never good. They started off as like the Spike Video Game Awards, and well, they were actually really terrible when they were on Spike TV. But now the guy that does them, Jeff Keighley, he does it all on his own now. As for online streaming, it's streamed online, and I think he did it. The last year was the first time he did it by himself, and I think it's been better ever since it's left Spike. But it's still I watched it. I watched the PlayStation conference and the Game Awards with Danny Devil May Pie, and we were kind of doing a lot of goofing on the thing because the Game Awards, it was shit. I'll just be honest here. The Game Awards were garbage. I think I'm gonna stop watching these things. It's maybe a little interesting to see what the different awards are, but the announcements are never great. There's one good announcement, but there was Telltale. I think this happened at the Game Awards. Telltale is doing a Batman game, which I don't care about that. You had a bunch of trailers for games we've already seen before, it ended off with a stupid there was supposed to be the way it ended so poorly, unless you love Deadmau5 or something, which I've barely heard his music. I just can't stand that kind of music. But the only good announcement was Psychonauts 2, which actually was a huge surprise. I was not expecting that at all, and that's actually a game I still need to play. I've heard great things about that game, and that's it was a Kickstarter that's still going on now, and it will make its goal. So I do need to play the original Psychonauts, but that was literally the only good announcement at the Game Awards. And most of the awards they announced backstage or whatever. They didn't even actually announce them on the actual show. Best Fighting Game, for instance, was just this little minor thing, just the throwaway award for Best Fighting Game, and Mortal Kombat won it. While you have an actual onstage award for Best Esports Team, it was fucking ridiculous. Then you had all the commercials, which were annoying. But I understand the commercials. The advertisers. That's who kind of pay for this show to get it up and running. But you had just a bunch of ads, and then musical performances, which I always fucking hate. I just hate the focus on musical performances at these shows because again, it's just the kind of music that's just not for me. What churches or something like that. I don't know, with a V in it. I hated that. I don't know. It's the whole Game Awards. It's fucking boring. It's so dull. But the big awards, the big awards. Let's see. Well, the big thing with the Game Awards, Bloodborne got fucking robbed. It didn't win anything. Art direction, Ori and the Blind Forest won, which I get it. Yeah, that is a good looking game. The art direction's great, but I still think Bloodborne should have won that one. Best soundtrack was the biggest joke of a category ever. Undertale wasn't even fucking nominated. And you had games like The Witcher 3, which had a really bland soundtrack, I thought. Metal Gear Solid 5, which had a few good songs, but not that many. And then the others, I can't even remember. I don't know, I felt a lot of the games, it is interesting, though, in the sense that, the big award, Game of the Year award, the nominees, I actually liked all 5 of them, which usually every year there's at least 1 or 2 mainstream AAA games that I hate. This year, it's really Batman Arkham Knight is the only one that I thought was really mediocre. The 5 games that were nominated for the Game of the Year were Mario Maker, Metal Gear Solid 5, Fallout 4, The Witcher 3, and Bloodborne, which I love all those games, but yeah, Bloodborne didn't win anything when it should have probably won Best Art Direction. Hell, the soundtrack in Bloodborne was pretty good too, and I don't think it was even nominated. You also have this thing where indie games are in their own category, Best Indie Game, which I've always found that bullshit. How basically only AAA games can be nominated for Game of the Year. That's fucking stupid. Undertale, yeah, it's an indie game. It was designed by one person, but I think it stands right up there with the best AAA games of this year. But I don't know. That was really dumb too. And Best Indie Game, Rocket League won, which really Rocket League, that's a fun game, but come on, Undertale is way better than that. But Yeah, the game of the year, Witcher 3 won, which, I'm okay with that. I liked Witcher 3. I think it's overrated. It's like that Metal Gear Solid are the two games I think like they were way overrated this year. But I thought Fallout 4 was actually going to win it because Fallout 4 is the most popular game last year. Because last year Dragon Age, well, it was the most popular and the newest game. And last year that was Dragon Age Inquisition was the newest game and it won Game of the Year. It really shouldn't have, by the way. But yeah, Witcher 3 won. I might guess I'm okay with that. Again, like I said, all five of the games were pretty good. But Bloodborne was definitely my pick out of those five. But that's the Game Awards. A complete waste of time. I'm probably not going to watch these anymore. I say that, but watch. I'll watch the next one. I always do. I always get sucked into these fucking things. But PlayStation Experience, this was more exciting. I was definitely looking forward to this way more. Disappointing in some ways, though. I don't feel like it was as strong as last year's conference. They started off with a fucking bang, and then they ended with a whimper. The way that it was structured was terrible. I don't know why they didn't save Final Fantasy VII for last, which I guess we'll talk about that right off the bat. Final Fantasy VII, a new trailer that showed gameplay, which blew me away. I was not expecting gameplay to be shown of this remake yet. And there it is. The game looks beautiful. Like Midgar looks absolutely amazing. Now the battle system, I'm hearing a lot of complaints. I'm reading a lot of complaints about this trailer. A lot of purists are getting already angry at it, and especially with a new interview apparently that it's not going to be completely turn-based. It's hard to really get a gauge of what the battle system is going to be like exactly. You can see kind of like an ATB bar in the bottom right, but it kind of like gets depleted, and there's like character switching. It shows character switching like between Cloud and Barrett, but it's with a trailer like that, and even with the interviews that they've shown, it feels like they don't exactly know what the combat's going to be like yet. It's almost like a proof of concept, almost like this gameplay trailer. It wouldn't surprise me if I don't know. It's weird. I feel like it's. Even though they showed gameplay, it's still. I think this game is way far away. Like this is not going to come out for a while. But it looks amazing, and I'm okay with it actually not being completely turn-based. The way they're talking about the battle system, it actually sounds kind of unique. So, I'm all for the changes, and they've talked about changing the game pretty heavily compared to the original, which I guess some people are pissed about that. I don't care. I think a lot of stuff they are going to have to change. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess the big thing with Final Fantasy VII, they didn't tell you this at the conference, but in an interview they said it's going to be broken up into parts, almost episodic. But they didn't call it episodic specifically. But basically, they said they would have to do this because the game's budget, like they just don't have the money to make just one game. They have to like split it into parts. So I'd have to imagine they do something like how the first game was 3 discs, like maybe have 3 different discs. The first disc is just the Midgar section, but they said they would have to cut stuff if they made it just one game. So I guess I'm fine with it, being in parts, but I'm not thrilled about it. I guess I could say I'm just glad that they're not going to be cutting stuff up. I really hope that the world map is still there. Because Final Fantasy VII is a huge game. You can probably like beeline it and complete that game in like 25 hours, but there's a lot of optional content in that game, and the map is pretty huge. So I'm hoping they bring a lot of that stuff back for this remake. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. That trailer was pretty exciting, and from there I was like, oh, this conference is going to be amazing. Unfortunately, it didn't quite live up to that. Like nothing in the conference was as good as that trailer, in my opinion. But yeah, some stuff I'm gonna go over, like I'm going to probably forget. There's a whole VR section dedicated to VR. I didn't care about any of that because, again, I'd have to get that into my hands to know what that's like. And the demo they did for the VR, like, it was absolutely terrible. Like, it was a terrible demo. Like, that stuff, like, VR does not show well on, like, a stage floor. It just does not. Like, it's one of those things you really have to be in person and try it for yourself, I'm pretty sure. They showed a bunch of cool-looking indie games. Adult Swim is publishing a bunch of indie games. Death's Gambit is the one that really stuck out to me. That game looks really cool. What else? There was a Ratchet and Clank trailer, I think, and that game actually looked really good. It's like kind of like a reimagining of the first game. I'm definitely looking forward to that. What else? Trying to think. Like, there were big announcements towards the end, but I think Uncharted 4, they showed another trailer, a story trailer, and there's like Mass Effect style dialogue choices. Whatever. You know my opinion on Uncharted. I don't really care about that game. Um, I guess the big two announcements towards the, or actually I should say one of the big announcements in the middle, and this is actually was pretty exciting. Yakuza 5, finally they announced the release date, and it's out actually at the time of this video. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to play that game until next year, but Yakuza 0, they announced, is coming to the West. Physical copy, at least I'm pretty sure, for PS4. So that's exciting. Finally, Yakuza is coming back to the West, which I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty big on the Yakuza games. So that was actually probably one of the more exciting announcements. I'm trying to think of something. I think I'm forgetting something that happened earlier in the show. But I don't know. I guess we'll just go to Ni no Kuni 2, which was probably another big surprise announcement. Certainly, I wasn't expecting it. Although I heard rumors of a level 5 RPG for PS4. So yeah, Ni no Kuni sequel. I loved Ni no Kuni. I thought that was a great game. I know a lot of people aren't too big on that game. And mostly due to the battle system, and I can understand that. The battle system is definitely not my favorite part of that game. Although, as far as I know, I don't think Studio Ghibli is involved with Ni no Kuni 2, which that's a little worrying, but I'm sure that game will probably turn out fine. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can't say I'm, like, super excited, but I guess it was a nice surprise. But that was the last big good announcement, because they ended off with something so fucking terrible and boring. Some game from Epic Games called Paragon, and there's actually a gameplay trailer of it, but the trailer they showed was just fucking CGI. And it's a MOBA. Like, again, like, I don't care. Like, I know MOBAs are for some people. I know some people really enjoy MOBAs. I could care less. So that game did not look interesting to me at all. It was like Gears of War-ish in terms of gameplay it looked, but then, it's a MOBA. But, I mean, that's about it for the PlayStation experience. I mean, there was also, a lot of games that we've already seen before, and that VR took up a big chunk of it, and that's just not that exciting to me. So, yeah, I mean, they kind of blew their load early, I guess, really, with with that Final Fantasy VII trailer. But overall, it was still a decent conference. I don't want to say it was terrible, but I think I was hyping myself up a little too much because last year's was really good and really strong. But they do have to save things for E3. Oh, I guess another thing. The head Sony guy was wearing a Crash Bandicoot shirt, and nothing fucking happened. There was no Crash whatsoever. I don't know why he wore that shirt. It was the biggest troll ever. I don't get it, but yeah, I'm probably forgetting something. If I've forgotten it, it's probably good. I probably didn't care about it, or it probably wasn't interesting enough. But yeah, brief thoughts on the Game Awards and the PlayStation experience. What did you guys think of these events? Did you watch them? What did you think of the announcements at them? But yeah, that's it, guys. I'll see you next time.